We are in a pristine creek in the heart of Seattle. Another secret spot that my buddy just told me about, my neighbor actually, this guy here, his name's Sushi. And it is the perfect trout or salmon stream. I mean, we got sand, we got silt, and then there's big rocks. There's even original first growth cedar here, and it looks like the den of something. So we're gonna follow this. We're gonna show you what it took to get down here, because we are way down in a ravine, as that bird might have just shown you. And these trees are at least 10 or 15 feet across, some of these original old growth Doug firs and cedars and pines. And you can see the size. That's not him, that's another gal in a green shirt, but you can see the size of this gully here and of this snag that's washed out all these old growth trees. And we probably will see some fish here in a minute. This water is so clear. I'm surprised there aren't any as we speak. Like, wow.
A few times before you get to the lake.
Oh wow, so this is, man, that's steep. Wow, look at that. There is a really old tree down there too. But yeah, that's huge. Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful down here, man. We can see the river, hear the river. Awesome. This is my buddy Sushi. What's up, Sushi? He's gonna be my guide today, so getting help from him. Yeah. Yeah, I'll come. I'm just filming you go through first, so people can get an idea of this janky trail. It's beautiful, dude. Can't believe this is like within the city still.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean,
this kind of stuff is still around.
I know. So this is where they introduced the spawning salmon, you were saying?
It's down further.
Down further, but same creek, yeah. Wow, it's beautiful. We got the moss and the licorice ferns. There's dust kicked up because of our walk. But look at that, there's old growth trees falling across the creek, which is rad. And Sushi's down there. I got to get to him now, being careful. This little drop off. Here we've got some man-made help with some old growth lumber. That's taller than me by about 3 feet. And this elbow of the river cuts under this bank where Sushi just crossed. I'm gonna cross. I'm gonna need both hands for this task, but that's a good 15 or 20 foot drop all the way down. So let's be careful here. All right, guys, so we're down here in a ravine, and well, it's a bit of a ravine. It's a bit of a hike. So we're down here at creek level, maybe at an old mill is what I would guess this is for. And we are looking at salmon habitat and old growth, original first growth trees, and just pristine salmon habitat with a trail that cuts through it. Secret trail. Only the neighborhood and the natives really know about this. It's not on the map per se. So we're going to continue our way to the spawning grounds. We're going to have to throw him back right away, but look at this beauty. Come on. Look at those orange fins and the spots. This is a beautiful looking little fish, and really a cool catch. It's got the adipose fin, which none of these other fish have. So it's a salmonid, and it's got that beautiful, the 3 fins on the underside. They're all orange. And let's see if we can get it into a little more light. Like I said, it's still early. We're gonna put it right back into the water, but it's got those speckled fins and some little rosettes and a lateral line that's kind of pinkish. Really cool. I'm gonna end up waiting if let's see with my pole. It's not too bad here. Let's see. Might get leeches, although it feels too cold and too oxygenated for leeches. Let's see. Is this all the depth it goes, or... Oh, it drops off again. Okay. Okay. And there's a metallic shovel blade in there. That's no fun. Oh! Well, it only came up to my knees at the deepest. And I only ruined the tranquility of everything for a while. Do I have any leeches? No. I don't think there are any. I think it's going to be way too clear of water for leeches. Man, this just broke too. Look at all this stuff that just fell.
Right.
All right, so here we have something kind of interesting. This is like a, I don't know, 15 or 20 foot wide tree at the widest. And we've got these buckboard cuts in it, which are each probably 8 inches tall and 2 feet wide or something like that. And there's 2 cuts on this side. And it looks like maybe there was another one at one point. But this is what they would put big old like 4x4s of wood, these big blocks of wood in, and then 2 guys would stand with one of those saws that's up to 25 feet across in some cases, the bow saws, just to cut the wedge out of the tree. Now in this case they probably were using something like a 9 or 12 foot long saw, but still you would never see that these days. And this is just the stump, and obviously new life's growing out of it, but it's just so incredible to see the remnants of it. I mean, how big these trees were. They were all this big, and we cut every last one of them down. It drives me mad to think about that. Like, we literally cut every single tree in the Seattle area down.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's not even just like, oh, there's one downtown just for posterity or anything. They're just all gone.
Why do you think I live in the suburbs?
Yeah, other than a few of them anyways. It's crazy. A new tree that just fell. Like, the leaves are still bright green on this, and it must have just washed out. And I'm gonna have to show you guys with my friend for size how big some of these trees are. I didn't actually know we had any of these outside of our the old growth forests on the peninsula and up in the mountains. This is crazy that this is in the city. I'm not telling anyone where this is. This is awesome.
This is local.
And this is all like native growth plants for the most part too, which is really cool. You can see it trickling out of the hillside here. So it's not just creeks, it's like little waterfalls and just groundwater. Because like I said, that hill is a good, where we're at now, probably 200 feet to the top, if you can see up through there. And these trees are all old growth. A lot of them are leaning though into the open space. This is like salmon paradise. And this is what all the creeks used to look like here, and we've jacked them up. But this is just awesome. Hopefully we can find some fish without wrecking any of this riffled habitat, because the salmon actually need the riffles right there as spots for the eggs to settle and group and clump. And then the other spots, the babies all have different colors that match different settings, and a lot of them match the water and the pebbles and then the gravel, and all of that depends on if it's around. And if it's mucky and stinky and gross and just they can't see the bottom, they don't camouflage at all and they get picked off. But we're gonna have to figure out how to get around this big old snag, and then we'll show you the size of some of these ginormous trees that honestly I'm shocked are here. So he's headed up here to this tree that looks like it's not a cedar, so it is, and it's not a sequoia. That is a Doug fir, and it is huge. I just want you guys to see this, that is a full-grown man my size, 6'1" or whatever, next to the bottom of that tree, and it is enormous. And there's a bunch of trees like this. Even this like this maple tree is ginormous. I'm just blown away by the botany here. It is wild. So cool. All right, I'm done nerding out. Let's get to the fish, right guys? Dang, look, that is a deep den. What do you think's in there? Are there any footprints or anything?
Hard to tell. Sand up there.
Sand. Something big lives in there. You can actually see where something came down to the water on the other side and broke some of those chutes and things. It's likely that a raccoon or coyote, or there's even deer in here from time to time, probably came and broke that down to come drink from the water, because this is basically a straight up cliff about 150 feet. And again, another typical view of a rocky, mossy, beautiful northwest stream. And this is exactly the kind of thing that the salmon learn to navigate. And that moss, it comes first, it lays down the first, probably lichen and then moss. And then when the moss gets thick, it actually builds up in the cracks and makes little bits of soil that are enough for things like licorice fern and salmonberry and things like that. And then along the edges, fern, sword ferns, Oregon grape berries, things like that to hold on to and get established. Now, it's really hard to see in this water fish, and it's only about an inch or two deep, but what happens is the fish will hide in the cut banks. If you're a fisherman, you know that, where it gets deeper, where the speed of the water is much faster, and the fish will find a rock or something under there, like this slow spot, and I almost guarantee you there's some fish hanging out underneath that edge somewhere over there, and they wait for the bugs to come downstream. But naturally, these same patterns emerge over and over. So when you're planning an aquascape or an aquarium, and if you want to do a hill stream or a creek type biotope, I mean, these are patterns that, like I said, they're predictable, and you can see where roots are exposed, and then you get little plants growing with them, and you get the smaller creek, or the smaller rocks and pebbles in the center of the stream, and you get sand and silt just beyond that, and then you get the riffles, which that is where the salmon crucially need to have basically little ledges for their eggs. And then when the male goes up ahead, he spawns, it comes down, and those little ledges, even though they're very tiny, like a centimeter or something each deep, it catches different rows of the eggs. And you know, I'm using the word row, which is funny if you know your salmon terminology. But yeah, this is just a really pretty little miniature set of cataracts or a waterfall. And if you were able to fish here, which, I mean, the reason there aren't as many fish as there used to be is because everyone had fished here in the, you know, 40s through the, I don't know, now. But basically, you could expect to find a lot of fish right at the drop-off. But if you're doing an aquarium, you know, you can do a deep section and then move it to a sandbar, and getting those riffles to look right with the dark light. I mean, it's all kind of little details that you could pick out and use. I'm going to step out into the creek and get a better shot for you guys of just what this creek looks like. And a lot of times when you do that, you'll have been looking at the water and think, I don't see any fish, and all of a sudden you'll see a fin, you know, the top of the dorsal fin and a tail fin just goes scuttering across. So there are a lot of fish that hang out, and you oftentimes can't see them because they're in the shadow and whatnot. But this is just a nice, beautiful little view, so I wanted to share with you guys. Also, where you see these water striders and stuff, you also see little crayfish and snail trails even in these creeks. Now, the invasive snails generally don't like these creeks too much. They're pretty cold, and for the most part, invasives haven't taken hold in our moving cold water as well as they have in like our standing water or our warm water still lakes, which is a very fortunate thing. But I wanted to just share a little sliver of this, another day on the creek, another day looking at plants, getting inspiration for aquascapes, looking for fish, even if I don't find any, and just enjoying the sounds and the sunlight. I love the filtered sunlight and the reflection. Everyone in the Pacific knows that if you want to cool down, you come to the creek. You don't go to the beach. You'll see everyone who moved here from California goes down to the saltwater beach. Saltwater's 50 degrees or 45 degrees. They get cold. That's like, what, 3 or 4 Fahrenheit? Or, I mean, Celsius. And they get cold, and then they run out, and then they get baked, then they get cold, then they get baked. And, yeah, it'll cool you down, that's for sure. But the creek, it actually cools the forest and these gullies, these gulches, these ravines. and drops probably 20 degrees in temperature on a hot day, which is great, like today. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you next time.